people to hang out with. The front of the Sorento is just very, again, conservative, yet identifiable as a Kia because you have the mainstay grille here, this matte chrome, and these coefficient of drag or drag reducing front aero inlets that help flow air underneath and around the underneath of the car. The back of the Sorento features more matte chrome, just other things that you're seeing on a lot of vehicles, but at the same time, this is a really quality, more upscale looking rear end. Now, of course, they've added electronic liftgate like a lot of vehicles in this price range, but overall, the storage inside here with the rear seats folded down is excellent. I don't think most people are going to want for anything more than this. I've been reading a ton about crossovers and SUVs, and it's really because they sell a cajillion of them. One of the most requested features on a CUV like this is 7-passenger capability, or a third row of seats. Now, the strange thing about that is when you put these 2 extra seats in the back, when you open up the hatch, there's no room back here. I mean, you could fit a couple cases, that's it. You're almost always having to put the rear seats down. Yeah, I was driving along and I thought to myself, wow, this might be actually nice to have those 2 extra seats, until you really look at it and you think, how the hell are you gonna get back here? Now, this would make sense if you had a minivan where you had sliding doors, the accessibility is there. This is not accessible. You have to either push one of these seats down from back here and crawl in through the hatch, or you have to be a chimpanzee to move this middle row of seats forward enough to squeeze back there. I don't know what people are gonna be using it for, maybe just small kids, that's about it. Yeah, we could talk about the exterior all day long, but what's the point? Let's call up Turbowski and have him take a look at the underneath. Hey everybody.
Hi. Hey.
We're in the shoppe with Scott Turbowski. What did you bring us today?
What did I bring us?
What did the boats bring us?
What did you bring us? A Kia Sorento.
What model year is it?
2016.
Is this what you're using to listen to your K-pop?
No.
So Scott, let's go over the basics.
What's that? No use of aluminum on this one?
Nope, none. Zilch. It's all stamped steel. Well, I'm sorry.
I don't think the knuckle is stamped steel.
It looks like aluminum.
It's not though.
No, it's the only shiny piece of metal and it's not aluminum. This is a strut-based front suspension. This happens to be the all-wheel drive model. Overall, there's a pretty good attempt here to smooth out airflow. This is a modern Kia. We have that. But overall, this is very basic. So as we look at the middle part of this car, we'll notice right away that there's, again, attempts to smooth out underbody airflow. The aero panels work their way almost all the way to the back. You like this, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I want to do that on my car.
What is it?
Chrome muffler.
Yeah.
I guess I can just take them off and get them dipped.
Scott, what is this up here?
Twinkie cream.
It's making me hungry. That body adhesive, I can't tell if it's...
You want to get up there and lick it?
It looks like it's something squirted into like a ding-dong.
Or squirted out of a ding-dong?
Yeah. Twinkie, ding-dong, ho-ho. And this is not a plug for Hostess.
Once the glaze is all over your ding-dong, then take the 2 forks, let the excess glaze drip off, and then place it on your wire rack.
When we come to the back, Scott, what do we got?
More use of no aluminum?
Correct. But there is camber adjustment.
There is.
That's good. The other thing that we have here is a pretty well sorted multi-link rear suspension. It's not as compact as some of the other ones we've seen, but it's pretty straightforward. This is easy to service. Really, if you look at it, it's not really too hard to get at things. Not only that, you have an electronic parking brake, which is...
Electronic drum parking brake.
What do you think of these chrome wheels?
They're hideous.
Yeah.
I don't like chrome.
I don't like chrome wheels. They're not, it just looks cheap to me. It looks very plasticky. But they do come with pretty decent tires.
Some dullers?
No, they're not Bridgestone Dullers. They're Michelin Premiers.
LTX.
Yep. This is a very simplistic underbody.
Underbody, yeah. I was gonna say, don't say car.
No, I mean underbody. This looks like you could get in here and service and do pretty much all the work that you need to do without any...
But it has a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, so let them worry about it.
All right. Unfortunately, you do have to drop this to change the oil, though, it looks
Yeah,
like.
you can access the oil filter from upstairs, but you gotta drop this whole fucking piece of shit to get a drain plug.
And there's a lot of bolts to take this panel
Zero
off.
excuse.
But like you said,
Why can't they just make a flap?
They should make a flap here. With everything else being so kind of simple to get to, this is very strange oversight for somebody that needs to service this car.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 bolts for one drain plug. Well, I would, if it was my car.
You just take it off and Dremel a hole out.
Well, I would just throw the thing in the garbage if it was my car.
Who cares? If you're buying this car, who gives a shit about who has to service it? You take it to wherever you're going to get your oil change and let them suffer with it.
I'm the asshole who's got to do it, though.
Exactly. Perfect for you. I'd say put 10 panels over this and make it 100 bolts. Under the hood of the Sorento, Scott, you know what's the best part about this car?
What, it's got a plastic cover like every other engine you just want to throw in the garbage?
That's a real Debbie Downer way to look at it.
Or is it the AGM battery over there?
No, it's not even the AGM battery.
What is it?
This has the correct amount of cylinders.
It does, but the engine's not facing the correct way.
Yes, but it makes up for it by adding 500 pounds to have an all-wheel drive system to correct that understeering nature.
How many cubic inches?
What, the motor?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do the math. But I know the displacement.
What is it?
So the displacement is 3.3 liters. Scott.
I would want to know the cubic inch.
Don't worry about the cubic inches.
How do you know how it compares to my Chevy 350 small block?
And what do you have that in?
My boat? Can you show me how to service that air filter?
Yeah, I can show you how to service this air filter. This is amazing. Any Joe Dokes can do this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, look, it says pull. That's how easy it is to pull the air filter out and put it back in.
How easy is it to put it back in?
That easy. Overall, I'm a fan of this vehicle.
You're a fan of every car you bring in.
No, I'm not.
Once you drive them for a few days, oh man, I love this car.
No, I never
I
say
do
that.
some towing and hauling with it.
That's a good point. How much can we tow with this?
Not much.
5,000 pounds.
Oh. Could tow my boat with an empty fuel tank.
Yep. So you do have a little bit of towing capacity. You do have some easy serviceability here. You have an overall pretty simple layout underneath of this thing, and it drives well. I would say, you know, at least you shouldn't have any drama with this. And not only that, if you're buying it new, you let the dealer deal with all the nonsense for 10 years, assuming that they're going to actually fix the shit.
Right, assuming they're actually going to acknowledge you have a problem.
So take a look at it. If you're in the market for this type of crossover, I would put it at...
Why is this a crossover, not a sport utility vehicle?
It's stupid. It's an SUV. I just say it's a crossover because
it's a
that's...
station wagon.
It's such a nice fall day to be in the Kia Sorento. And right off the bat, we are going to go into sport mode. not eco mode, but sport mode. We're gonna leave the automatic in just automatic mode because when you're in sport mode, it sharpens steering response or steering feel. Throttle, the throttle comes alive, and of course the transmission holds revs a little bit better. So let's check this out. Brakes are a little soft. Brakes are really progressive, overly progressive for my taste. You never get that sense like, oh my God, you're gonna stop. It just, you kind of have to keep going into the pedal further and further to get these brakes to come alive. I got traction and stability control off. Let's check out the acceleration here. Now, if you have the money, if you're gonna go and look at a Sorento, look at the V6, this motor makes the most sense. It's got a ton of torque, it's totally smooth. There's just zero hesitation in terms of daily driving, aggressive driving. This is the motor you want. The second choice would be the turbo motor. But anything less than that is gonna feel really pokey. The turbo motor is probably gonna work for some people, but for the size and weight and the overall refinement and the driving experience in this car, the V6 is the right choice if you can swing it. The other thing that's really nice is this car, or SUV or crossover, you can throw it around like a car. And I'm not kidding you. I've driven this thing, I've driven the pants off of it. It's one of its strongest suits, is body control. You'd expect when you get in a vehicle this size that it's gonna be flopping all over the place. But what Kia's done here is they put a sports bra on this machine, and it feels exactly like driving a car. You can do so many things in it that you can do with a car. You never get that fear you're gonna tip over or lean over in this. It just is so well dampened, so well controlled, and the steering is just surprisingly good. Let's take a look at the handling here again. I'll just kind of show you how you can just kind of throw this thing around. And then in sport mode, if you let off the throttle, it's gonna hold revs for you, which is handy in a turn usually. Take a look at these turns. Good thing is I don't lack confidence. I don't lack confidence that I can't drive this car or crossover the way that I want. I can do exactly what I want to do in here like I would in most normal mid-sized cars, which is great, honestly. It just feels so smooth. There's so much pull and torque. I like this motor a lot. And the cool thing about this, you know, and I just got out of the Murano. In Nissan, they don't have a direct injected V6. So what you get is a port injected V6, and they have to make up for the fuel economy from not having direct injection there by giving you a CVT. So Kia has a direct injected V6, so they don't have to use a CVT to get that same type of fuel economy, which is really nice because the big thing here is having a 6-speed automatic. It makes it feel a lot more lively. It feels more sporty, if I could even put it that way. There's a big difference in overall driving experience when you don't have a CVT. That's a big plus for this vehicle. The other thing I'm gonna say here, and I know I just said that, is body control. The overall ride quality of the Sorento, Kia really has a good handle on making a vehicle of this size comfortable over almost all the pavement types. This feels almost, and I hate to say this, almost feels like some of the entry level, like the NX200T, the Lexus that I drove. It feels very similar in terms of ride quality and solidity, and that's a huge plus for me. You know, it's one thing to have a real soft and supple ride for some people, but you want a good balance. You don't just want it to be a one-trick pony, and this thing handles most all the pavement conditions really well, and it's so controlled. The other thing is fuel economy, and this might concern some people and maybe others it won't with prices being down, but I'm averaging about 21 miles per gallon, and that's really just kind of hammering this car around. So you can kind of expect that near the bottom of what you would get. I think the biggest surprise with the new Sorento is the overall refinement in this cabin. It is super quiet. There's never a time where you feel like, oh, there's wind noise, and there's a lot of glass in here, especially with this monster moonroof. It's super quiet. It's almost near that level of luxury car refinement. I don't know how it's going to hold up over time. This is actually one of the first testers I've got that's basically new. It only had 250 miles on it when I got it, so everything feels really solid. There's no creaks or rattles yet, so take that for what it's worth too. There are some driving quirks here. You know, I'm going to be completely honest. There's some things that I don't like. As much as I like that there's a torque-converted 6-speed automatic in here, it does have some really rough upshifts. I've noticed it more on aggressive driving where it just kind of feels like it's confused, just hesitating to go into gear. It just judders. Same thing with some of the downshifts. Now, it's mostly on more aggressive driving. You'll notice a little bit at shop in slower speeds, but that's pretty rare. And again, I don't know if that's just this tester because it's so new. You know, there's a lot of variables there, but that's one thing I don't like. The second thing that's kind of annoyed me is the steering wheel is off center. And this is a new car. I don't think too many people have been in it in 250 miles to have whacked the front end. I mean, it's possible, but the steering wheel is slightly off center to the left. And it's a very windy day, and you can tell it's even worse. And it's just one of those annoyances that I hate. So I don't know if that's a quality control issue or really it got whacked. So we've covered just about everything with the Sorento, except one of its best parts, the interior. This is a extremely comfortable, well-appointed cabin. Now, the big negative here is this white interior. It has this wow factor to it, much like I talked about with the Mazda 6. You look at it, you're like, that looks upscale. Until you realize this car's got about 400 miles on it, and already the door handle area where you're in contact with is already dirty and black. I mean, this is not gonna hold up. Now, there's a question of, well, could you get away with the white interior still? Probably, but you'd wanna change the door handle area to black leather where it's not constantly getting disgusting. You'd have to be really dedicated to keep this clean. Well, the easy way to fix that is don't get a white interior. But regardless of what you choose, the Sorento has elevated some elements here compared to the other mainstream cars I've been in recently. The one thing this car does extremely well is when you have your hands on the steering wheel, literally all the main controls are within 3 to 6 inches of your hands. You don't have to move your hands. You don't have to fiddle with the controls. Like this HVAC control, literally it is 3 inches away from your hand. It's so well placed. So many of the controls that you use every day are right here. It does it better than a lot of the cars that I'm, probably 80% of the cars I've been in. Now this upper trim level has luxury features that again actually work. Like the seat coolers, they do their job. The seat heater works good, the steering wheel heater works. This panoramic sunroof is monstrous. It makes it feel like it's a convertible almost, and it's really fast, the shade to go back too, which is a nice touch. Now there are some things I don't like about this interior, like this top dash piece here. It feels so cheap. It feels like it should be out of like a 1990s pickup truck interior. This stitching looks obscenely fake. Yes, it's soft touch, but it doesn't do it for me, especially with the quality of some of the other components of the interior. The second thing I've noticed in terms of weirdness is when you have the interior illumination or the interior lighting down to the dimmest setting at night, you can no longer tell if your seat cooler lights are on because the lighting's so low that the LEDs can't light up. It's kind of a weird bug that you would have thought they would figure out in terms of quality testing. Here's an omission or something that bothers me a lot. As much as I love this HVAC control layout, there's one thing missing. You can't tell what temperature you're setting with these dials down here. It doesn't tell you because you have to look at the touch screen or this infotainment screen to know the temperature you're setting. Now, why is that a problem? Well, let's say at night you have the screen blacked out. Oh, well, you turn the knob and the screen comes back on with the temperature. Or better yet, in 5 years when your warranty's up, this screen doesn't work anymore. Well, now you can't tell what temperature you're setting. It's just one of those omissions. I'd like to see it down here. Infotainment and sound system. Now, a lot of cars have been going to Bose. This has Infinity, and what that means is essentially nothing, because it's all about the software and the EQ that they put in the car. this is one of the better audio systems in mainstream cars. They allow you to adjust mid, treble, bass, and it actually has a bright sound to it. It's never really overtly flat like a lot of cars. The bass reproduction's good, and it's always clear. And I've tried it on CD audio, Bluetooth audio, and Sirius is a horrible choice because it's so compressed, but everything sounds really solid. The overall navigation or infotainment use is pretty good overall. I'd say it's about average. And it's average because it relies way too much on the touchscreen to jump around menus. They've done a good job in terms of speed and usability, but it just needs work because you just have to fiddle with it too much to get around. I tend to turn the screen off a lot, and it's essentially you have to do a couple menu jumps to do that. You don't have a physical control to turn off the screen, which kind of bothers me. The second thing is, this is more subjective, is as much as these controls on here are semi-ergonomic and symmetrical, it looks like a cheap Chinese knockoff head unit or an Android head unit you'd buy for like $500. It doesn't really match up with the rest of the interior in terms of overall looks and quality. The second thing is the font choice that they use in the menu system. It looks very like Commodore 64. It's got like this retroness to it. Same thing with the dial, or actually numbers on the instrumentation cluster. While we're on that topic, the instrument cluster. It's actually really good. I guarantee you most people would never guess that this whole center part of this speedometer is a digital screen. The black levels are so good. It does look like an analog gauge. Not only that, this is how you control all the system settings of the car. For your tire pressure, your collision mitigation system, your door alerts, lighting, all of that is done here. And the best part is the menu structure, the way you get around this menu when you're in park is so intuitive. You really don't have to dick around here. It's one of my more favorite parts of this car. This center screen also does not look generic at all. It looks very high-end for a mainstream car. What I'd like to know now that you have this cover off, why are the last two cars that we've talked about both relating to Italy? The Sorento...
Because they want to be like Mercury with the Milan.
And guess what? You know what other cars on the list? The Tucson.
That's true.
Another Italian. You know what?
I thought that was in Arizona.
Oh.
Tucson?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Fucking idiot.
I was thinking of Tuscany.